Hey everybody, this week on Sessions we did a classic table build from the mind of Erik Curtis. We're going to show you how to build the files on Tool directly on Origin and also how to build them in Studio.
This is a live show every other Thursday at 4 o'clock Pacific. You can view it at sessions.shapertools.com. We'd love to have you there. You can interact with us, ask questions, and win giveaways. It's a good time.
Yeah, we'll see you there. Hello everyone, welcome to Shaper Sessions. My name is Jake.
And I'm Sean.
Today we're doing a kind of an intro to your first furniture project with Origin. We're
Yeah.
gonna make a small side table.
It's a super easy table to make. It takes advantage of a lot of on-tool design on Origin, so you don't even have to use a computer. We will show how to create those in Studio after we create the first ones, and then we'll move on to the mortises.
Yep. This comes from our friend Erik Curtis. It's a project on Shaper Hub, and it's got everything you need in the project. It's got a detailed PDF on how to build it yourself. It's even got a build video that you can follow along with. So we're going one step beyond and doing a session on it to, I guess, show how to build it now and also how to design for it.
Yeah,
That's one thing it doesn't cover.
there's the PDF you can follow along at your own pace. There's a video that is in Eric's kind of traditional video style, and then we'll have a third version of that, so you can take your pick.
Yeah. As always, folks, this is a live show, so please use the opportunity to ask those questions in the comment section below. We're going to go through everything at the end during a live Q&A, where we're going to also do some giveaways. We got some good ones. We always got some good ones, but in order to enter into that giveaway, you're going to answer the poll question that's going to come up on your screen about halfway through the show during our break. So please answer that and get your name in the running.
Nice. Maybe we should just quickly hop over here and just show where people can get the projects from.
Let's do it.
Eric did a couple different projects. He did 3. This kind of small box, this wall hanging cabinet, and the end table is kind of the last one. And if you just search for end table, you'll find it. And then he's got some of the files for it, as well as the PDFs and a SketchUp file. And the video would be linked here if you want to watch his version of it. Now, in the video, he goes over 2 different versions of the table. There's a simpler version that just uses mortise and tenon joinery, and then there's a second double mortise and tenon that is at the end. We're only going to focus on the first version, so the single mortise and tenon. And then if you want to do the double, it's a little bit wilder.
It's
pretty
wild.
fun, but we won't go over it in this show. So, yeah, why don't we jump into it, Jake?
Let's get into
it. We're going to start by building these files directly on Origin and walk you through the process.
Yeah, we're going to do it 2 ways. I got my stock here working with 7/8 thick maple for the aprons and 2" by 2" for the legs. So, nice thing about this project too is you can go to most hardware stores or hardwood suppliers and get boards that are milled pretty close to this, and you can definitely get 2" by 2" bat blanks or table laid blanks.
And one of the things you'll see as we're going through this project is a lot of this is, if you have stock that's a little thinner or thicker, it's very easy to just change some of these variables along the way. So I wouldn't get too hung up on these, but it looks nice together at these thicknesses, and building a little different's not too hard.
Yeah. And for our top, we're getting a little wild with it. Going with a bright yellow dyed MDF top. Because we can, and it's fun. A little Memphis style. All right, let's get into it. I have one of my aprons chucked up into my workstation, clamped on the left-hand side up against my registration pins here. And today I'm using the reversible clamps so that they're nice and quick and easy to pop this in and out.
Yeah, I mean, when you're doing joinery and you're doing it over and over, these quick clamp grips just speed it up a lot because you don't have to hold the material and try to clamp it at the same time.
I'm also going to work on both the right and left side of workstation.
Yeah, and after we go through this, maybe while you're cutting these first 2, I'll take a second to talk about that.
Perfect. Okay, to start us off, I have my engraving bit in backwards as a probing bit. It's always worth the extra second it takes to put the probing bit in for our grid. Now, in some areas, I'm going to slightly deviate from his instructions, but we'll explain why. In his instructions, he has you make what we call a front left grid. That's touching off on the face of the material closest to you. Whenever possible, we like to do a back left grid. So I'll show you what that is exactly. So we're in grid, new. I'm going to sneak back behind my material and lower my bit. And the only trick to this is you need to make sure that you tap that edge button.
Yeah,
So
that edge button is going to allow you to do a bunch of different types of grids. And really, you just think of it as which side you're touching that material on.
got our 1 and 2 on the back edge, and always your third point along the edge that's touching the reference pins. Sweet. Now my material is 7/8 thick. I have a 1/2 inch grid going on here. Since we're building this on tool, I'm just going to go ahead and modify my grid so that it's an 1/8 inch. That's going to make placing and building these shapes a little easier. Okay, to start us off, we're going to start with a tenon shape, which is a rectangle that is 2.5 wide by 3/8 tall. And a reminder to everyone, if you have a fraction, you can just go ahead and throw it in Origin and it will do the math for you to give you the decimal. That radius needs to account for the bit size that we're using. Today we're using the 1/4 inch by 1 inch bit. So that gives us an 1/8 inch radius on the inside of our corners. 0.125.
Yeah, you can think of this as whatever bit size you're using, divide that in half for the radius, and then everything should fit perfect.
Yeah. All right. In his instructions, he has you kind of build the tenon more towards the right sides. It's an asymmetrical tenon. We'll go over why in a moment. But I'm going to use that top left anchor.
Quarter and a
quarter
quarter
inch.
Yep.
So I can actually see over here I have 2 grid spacings, which is a 1/4 inch because each one's an 1/8 of an inch.
Yep.
And I'm a 1/4 of an inch down, which is basically centering this tenon on my stock. Tap the green button to place. Come over here and just do a quick visual inspection. Yep. 2 grid spacings. That's 1/4. That's 1/4. That's 1/4.
Yeah, so two ways to handle this. One is to allow that shape to snap to the grid and make sure your grid increments are set up in whatever spacing you need. And then the other way is to use the positioning feature where you just tell it exactly where you want it to go. So, in this case, it's a little harder because we're changing it a little bit, but you could build it off the top corner from that gridding point, 1/4 inch this way and a 1/4 inch down, and then the position would be locked in there.
Yeah. We also have this large area here that we need to clear out with a pocket. So I can go ahead and create another rectangle. Tap to start and just drag down to create an oversized rectangle. That when we go into cut mode, we can make a pocket. It gives us a nice area to just hog out that material.
Yeah, because if you didn't do that, when you hover over the other shape, it would actually not cut the entire area. And so this is one of the things that's going to happen traditionally when you're cutting a mortise and tenon is when you're cutting the tenon, you're going to have to kind of either make the offsets bigger to clear out a bunch of area or build a kind of a file around it to be able to clear it out easier. On tool, just popping a little rectangle and making a pocket makes it really easy.
Mm-hmm. Next thing that we're going to run into is over on the opposite side, we have these large cusps that we're not quite cutting. Quickest way to get rid of that is just to make one more rectangle that is the exact size of your stock. So we create rectangle that's 3.5 by 7/8. Top left anchor because that's where our 0 point is, and I'm just snapping it directly on top. From here, I can use this outside rectangle as an online cut, basically to just get rid of the cusps on the corners and to make that initial cut to get rid of some of the material.
Yep.
So when I come in here, I'm just focusing on that tenon.
Nice.
So now we've made a 3-step operation. We have quick pass out here, hog out any remaining material here, and then do a final pass on the tenon shape.
Nice. All right. Well, let's get it cutting.
Let's do it. My depth is 1 inch. And I'm going to be using AutoPass today. AutoPass basically takes all my depth passes and makes it more sequential, so I don't need to retract in between each one. I can go from 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch to 1 inch, and then a finish pass. I might just subtract one of those. Speed this up. And one of those.
Yeah, rule of thumb typically is each pass should be the depth of your diameter of your bit. But when you're cutting in grain, you can go a little more aggressive because it's a lot easier to clear that material out.
Totally. Got a bunch of straws standing up, cuts like butter. I would not do the same tactic for our mortise because this is hard maple and it will feel hard. Okay.
Nice. All right.
I'm ready to go.
Let's rip.
I'm going to Z-touch and then I'm ready to go. I'm going to put the right bit in.
Oh, yeah, that'd be a good one.
And then I'm ready to go.
Always check your bit before you cut.
Just so we can all see it, that is the 1/4 by 1 inch length of cut. Very similar to the standard bit that comes in the box of origin, plus an extra 1/4 inch of cutting depth. Z-touch directly off the top of our material. And away we go.
All right, so Jake's going to start with that online cut and just kind of clear that out. It's also nice if you start with the online cut because that shoulder of the tenon's actually going to end up getting defined by that first cut. If you kind of cut inside the tenon and try to clear the outside afterwards, you might have more tear out, chip out, that kind of thing happening. So I would always suggest try to make a light cut around the shoulders. That way you'll get a nice, pristine visual fit. And then we'll move to the pocket. And so, this is really, the beauty of Origin in this design is, you can just have a big area and cut what you want. You don't have to cut the whole thing. One of the cool things about the way Jake even designed this file is just by taking all those shapes and really just making sure they're in a general area. That pocket, he just drew out visually. It wasn't, so being kind of flexible with that is pretty nice. Okay, so cutting the outline now, and you'll notice, Jake's just putting a little bit of down pressure on the handles so that he gets a nice firm cut. Not too much, but if you can keep even pressure, that bottom of the shoulder where it goes all the way to the tenon is going to be nice and flat. So when you go to seat that joint, you're not going to see any gaps, that kind of thing. So just think about that when you're cutting. A little bit of down pressure, not a lot. Try to keep it as consistent as possible. And then AutoPass is automatically going to go to that finishing pass for us, and boom, there's one tenon cut. So pretty quick. Now, Jake cut half of this beforehand, so he's going to cut the second one real quick again. Because we have 2 more, and then we're gonna, while Jake's doing that, I'm gonna talk a little bit about the way we've set it up in the workstation, so that it'll make a little more sense when we go over there. So he's marking, what side was touching both the pins and the face, because when we flip this, especially because it's not a standard tenon with centered, we need to make sure we're referencing the same thing. So we're gonna have to flip it over. And then we're going to mirror the file to the top right corner. And this is, maybe it takes a minute when we go over it. It'll make a little more sense. But essentially that top corner is now, the whole file is just going to get flipped horizontally, and then we're going to be good. Do you want to cut this one first too?
That's a good
just
idea.
so we have it. That way we don't have to mess with another one. So, when you're cutting these, you can make multiple workspaces and you could, switch workspaces. But, I always like to take, the one thing you're going to cut a bunch. In this case, we did 2 before, but we have to do 2 now. So Jake's just going to go ahead and cut this one now. Same thing, just reclamping, making sure it's referenced on the back and the top, and then we'll only have 2 more cuts, and all our tenons will be done. Yeah, so erase that cut history. And that's always good because it helps you understand what you've done before and after. And yeah, if you don't erase it, you can still cut, but you can sometimes get confused about what actually was already cut or what needs to be cut. And one of the things I love about doing these joinery cuts is you do get a lot of practice in repetitive cuts and thinking about, what is the flow of how you pick what to cut. And Origin's one of those tools, like any tool. The more you use it, the better you get. And repetition builds good outcomes. So if you haven't done mortise and tenons with Origin, you really should try it. It's a great joint for Origin. You can cut them so quickly and so accurately. You can kind of dial in the fit to whatever you want. And you'll see when we get later in the show, when we're cutting those mortises, maybe we'll even show you a couple different fitments that you can achieve with Origin based on changing that global offset. If you're not familiar with the global offset feature, it just basically allows Origin to move the line closer or further away from the shape you want to cut. And when you're cutting these joints, you can move it 1/1000ths in or out to really dial in exactly how you want it to fit. All right, and so Jake's rolling along. Might be faster than Bench Pilot. Jake's speed, but if we had Bench Pilot, we probably would have set up the left and the right in a single workspace and just hit go and gone to get a cup of coffee. Come back and we have 2 tenons, flip them, do it again. All right. How'd it go, Jake?
Flawless.
All right. Nice. Okay, so 2 things we should go over before we get too heady. One, because I think people might be asking, maybe if we come to this top cam here. So you'll notice we talked about that difference here and here. You might be wondering, why isn't it not just centered here? Well, when a tenon comes into a mortise at the top of this table here, if you had it like this, there would be a little tiny bit of ingrain right at the corner that's likely to break. But if you flip it, now we can do that, and we'll have a lot more space kind of in between here and here to keep the wood from splitting or kind of having any issues. So that's kind of explaining why that tenon's not centered perfectly. Okay, cool. So next up is, we talked about that reference face. Now, maybe we stay on the top cam just so people can see when we do this. So maybe we'll take this off for let's take that off for just a second. So we use this top point here to reference everything. Now, we really care that this edge and the back are what the files are referenced on, because if you mill sloppily or the wood moves, if you're not touching that same face, when you go to cut the other side, your tenon's going to shift left or right or up and down. And so this is a really important part of using Workstation and Joinery and Origin, is remembering which reference faces matter. And sometimes that's a visual thing. Sometimes it's a reference like a box where you want all the bottom or the top to be the same. And so thinking about which one you're going to use is really important. So Jake's going to rotate that over so that the same 2 pieces that were previously being referenced by the grid are now referenced by a top right grid. And this is going to just make sure that everything looks nice and perfect. So we'll go ahead and put this back up. So you're going to not be able to see it for a second. But pretty exciting. A couple releases ago, we released a new feature on Origin. It's a free system update. And basically what it does is it allows you to import files you've created on Origin in Origin. And so Jake's going to quickly do a new scan or
Just add to scan.
Just an add to scan. Okay, so
Just so we can see.
makes sense. Okay, so we have add to scan. We're going to make a new grid first to make sure that's referenced, in case something changed. So this is one of the things. If you do an add to scan, you can only have one grid in your workspace at a time. So if you do an add to scan, we're going to delete that old grid when we make this new one, but the files will still be in the right spot, which is okay. But if you wanted separate workspaces with each grid, you could just make a new scan, make a new grid. And then if you need to go back and change something in the old one, you could. All right, so we're going to do our grid, same thing. We're going to use the back to start, and that's going to define the x-axis. And then we'll use the outside, which will define the y. And then we have that top right corner as our point of interest. Now,
just to show everyone, that's still where we left it.
Yep.
But now we're working over here.
But the grid is no longer at the old one. So you could, if you needed to get that back, you would need to probe again that side of the grid. Okay, so now that we have it gridded, now we just need to get that file we previously created in that workspace and pull it over here. So
I can go into import.
Oh, I think we might have messed up, Jake.
Where normally you would grab your files.
I think, no, we messed up, Jake.
Did we?
Yeah, because we went ahead and made a new grid, and now when we go to mirror that shape, the grid is going to be far off, not on the shape, which is fine. But ideally, if we would have done a new scan, then we could grab that file and the origin of where that file was. Because I believe if you grab this, it's going to grab.
Well, let's see. Seems fine to me.
Okay, nice. Okay, so maybe it didn't grab the interesting.
It's not grabbing the grid.
Yes.
So I do need to do one thing though. I need to go into scale and just flip.
Yeah, so this is the key part here. Under the scale menu, there's two little arrows there, and that will flip the file over the axis. So you can flip it over the east and west or north and south. Okay. Nice.
And there we go.
And then always double check that when you did your computation that the big area is on the right side, and look under your tenon, make sure it's on the same side, because it's very easy to get confused during this process. Okay. Now we're going to cut these two.
Got that one. Got this one. All right. Let's boogie.
Boom.
Getting too excited.
Oh, you almost cut with the probing bit, huh? Maybe I've done that once or twice.
And Z-touch. Anytime I'm taking that spindle in and out, it's good practice to just Z-touch when you put it back in. Even if you're not changing the bit, it's good practice. Okay, here we go.
All right. All right, so while we're waiting for Jake to fill this out, how many people in the comments, if you're watching the show live, have actually cut a mortise and tenon with Origin? I'm curious. Have you done it before? Have you not? You might not even be an Origin owner yet. So if you're not, hope this show is giving you some hope for the things you can do with Origin. It's one of those tools that just allows you to do so many things. And, joinery, we did a dovetail session last week. We did this mortise and tenon one. Box joints are available directly on Origin. So many different types of joinery are there. And if you stick around right after this, we're going to talk a little bit about the Joinery Challenge, which is currently going on. And, it's just an epic tool for those types of joints because it has such good fitment. And you'll see as we get closer to the end of the show. We'll talk about some of the more intricate details of fitment and how do you get it right. I even had an idea, and I haven't actually even told Jake about this. This would be a pretty fun project to draw bore the joints instead of gluing, and so maybe once Jake gets done, we can talk to him about that. All right, so we got a finishing pass. And this is, cutting one little table. You can do this by hand with Origin, no problem. But if you want to make a bunch of these, you got to check out BenchPilot. I mean, it's like, these cuts only take a couple minutes, but if you're just loading it, hitting go, coming back, oh, it's so nice. All right, Jake, how we doing?
We are done.
Okay, so we got one last joint to do.
I'm going to save that one
Ooh,
to use the file that you're going to work on.
great.
Just to
Love
show
it.
what the cut
Smart.
looks like.
Did you hear me while you were cutting?
Oh, yeah. You want to draw board it?
Yeah, what if we draw board these together?
Make it complicated.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
It's a simple table.
I know, but, simple is, just a perspective. All right, so we've cut those. Jake actually suggested, hey, why don't we show people how to do it in studio? Because, doing on Origin's cool. There are some limitations there. Obviously, it's not as complex as things you can do in studio. So I'm just going to kind of walk you through how I build it in studio real quick. So here we are in studio. And always, step one, what is the shape that we're working with? The main stock. So I'm going to go in here and, okay, tell me if you like this. We're going to try this out. So I have this little thing that kind of highlights and dims out everything I'm not doing. If you don't like it, tell me in the comments and we'll stop doing it. Okay, so the width of our stock here is going to be 3.5 inches. And our boundary is going to be 7/8. Okay, so cool. So there's our main stock. Now, a little pro tip: if you enter some shapes in and it's not zoomed out correctly, you can go up to this little button up here, click that button. It'll zoom it to fit. Nice little feature there. Okay, and then next step is go up to design mode. Make sure we have the grid turned on and the position and the smart alignment, because smart alignment is going to have these shapes snap together. The position tool is going to allow us to snap to the grid. If you don't want to snap to the grid, just click that button. It'll only snap to the objects. But in this case, we do care about the grid, so let's just keep that. And then I'm going to take the shape and I'm going to drag it up until it's snapping to the center of this grid at 0, 0 here. And if you're not sure where 0, 0 is, you can always look down at this position feature here. And you'll see right now it's at 1.7 by 0.438. And that's because the anchor point of this shape is in the center. So if we wanted, this back corner to be the anchor point, like we built the file, we can click this button, and that will allow us to select these anchors. Or, this is a pretty new update in Studio, you can put an anchor anywhere now. So you can see if I cover around these, they'll highlight. But if I go off the shape, now I get a little red dot, and I could, put an offset anchor. And that can be pretty helpful in more complex cases. But in this case, we only care about that top corner. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll click that, and I'll drag it down to 0, 0. And then now you can see that our position is 0, 0. So that's a good way to kind of make sure that everything's in the right spot. Just by, seeing that, the 0, 0 point is at where you want it. Okay, so that's our tenon. And this is just essentially the boundary, which is great. And then what we needed to do, and this is where it gets a little bit nicer in Studio because we have some more tools than Origin has. If I go here and I click this shape, we can just make a small 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch rectangle to help us place that tenon properly. So I'm just going to go in here, make it a 1/4 by 1/4. Okay, and then same thing, I'm just going to drag that. And notice this is the corner that we actually cared about. For that spacing, and when we were placing from up here, we had to do a little bit more math to figure it out on Origin. But in this case, we can just snap it to this corner, and then we'll be good. So let's go ahead and make that tenon shape. So I'm going to go back to making shape. Now in this case, we don't want a regular rectangle. We want a rounded rectangle because we want to include those radiuses. So I'm going to click that button. And I know that this rounded rectangle needs to be 2.5 inches by 3/8. Okay, and the radius, like I said, whatever bit size you're using, divided by 2. So we're using a 1/4 inch. So I can either type 1/4 inch divided by 2 and let the math do it for me, or I can just type in 0.125 myself, and then boom, now we have that file. So last thing we got to do is just get this into place. And so I'm just going to drag it around. And you see when these red areas show up? If I just drag until I hit that corner, you'll see they kind of lined up over in this area here. So you can see there, boom. That means this shape's corner is aligned to that corner. and then boom, we're done. So now we can go to plan mode. This is another cool thing about Studio. Origin kind of has this too, but in its own way. I'm just going to select everything and make it cut with a 1/4" bit because that's what we're going to use. This one, I'm actually going to turn into a guide. You know, Jake was using it as an online cut to kind of trim the edges, but we're going to do a little different in Studio. And then this is just a guide as well. We're not actually going to cut that little thing. We just used it for placement. And then this would, of course, be an outside cut. Now, when we come in here, we can see that this area is not going to get cut as well as these areas. And so what I like to do is there's a couple things. We could make this shape bigger and kind of have a second cut path to cut, but I prefer, in a lot of cases, to just take this shape that we have here and basically duplicate that shape. And I'm going to, if you follow me down here, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to hit the duplicate. And if I go up, this duplicate in place is going to essentially put another shape right in the same spot. Okay. So now that we have that, I'm going to change the anchor to the center point by clicking that. And then I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger than my main shape in both sides. And so I'm doing that because I'm going to now take this shape and this shape, and I'm going to shape shift them. And shapeshifter is a feature that allows you to select what you want out of multiple shapes. So if I click the shapeshifter button in the bottom, now I can either click this to get this area, which we care about, or I could even just get this area, or I could get both of them. So you can kind of click around and pick what you need. In our case, we just want this big area because essentially the blue is what you want to keep, and we want to keep the blue. The only little trick here is if I click make shape now, it's going to basically take these shapes, combine them into whatever I've picked, and then kind of get rid of the originals. But if I toggle this little button here in the bottom, keep existing shapes, it's actually going to keep the old ones too. And that's what we want because we actually need those files. So I'm going to hit make shape, and boom, now we have that shape. So what's going to be cool is when we go to plan mode, this shape, if we turn it into a pocket, it's now going to clean outside that main area as well as the corners in one go. And so this is kind of a nice trick to essentially clean it out. And Jake will show you kind of when he's cutting this, how that works. And let me just make sure everything else looks good. So we have this pocket and we have our inside cut and everything else is a guide. So Jake, I think we're good. Oh, I did forget one thing.
Custom anchor point.
Custom anchor point.
There
Okay.
it is.
So Origin's going to always try to place either on the outside corners. So if I go to here, it's going to try to, it can use any of these points by default or the midpoints or the center. So it has 9 anchor points that are, able to be used for any shape. But we need to place off this point here, not this point. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to this design mode. And I'm just going to go down here and click Add Origin Anchor. And what that's going to do is that's going to add this little red triangle at the 0, 0 point, which is exactly where we want our grid in the right place.
Nice.
Okay, so that is a quick building it in Studio. Now Jake's going to import it. And the only thing Jake's going to need to do is mirror that design because I built it the wrong way.
All right, import. Top of the list.
But this is kind of where Studio and Origin play very nice together. If you want to do it in Studio, you can go back to Studio and flip it really quickly, or we can go to Origin and flip it really quickly.
Boom. Placed. Got a big pocket, and we got an outside cut. That's beautiful.
And I did not encode the depths, so you'll need to make sure you have the right depth.
It's okay. I'm living on the edge here.
Okay. All right, last cut. Okay, so that's, using Studio to make these files really quickly. If you aren't comfortable in Studio, I would suggest starting small. Don't try to design some crazy thing in Studio off the bat. Start small, start simple. Following a project we've done here on Sessions, or even going to look at some of the videos Audrey has put out, you can progressively get better at designing things for Origin, because at the end of the day, that's one of the most satisfying things is to have an idea design it and then build it and see that idea come to life. But it does take progression. You do need to work those muscles. And some projects like these, which do require you to get things right, but aren't so complicated you're feeling lost, I would say, try to get some time on your belt with these simple ones. All right, so where are we at, Jake? Okay, so nice. He's pocketing out. So Jake, he's probably pocketing out a lot of this pocket because then he knows when he goes to that tenon later, he can just do a quick go. Everything's already cleared out. He can probably be a little more aggressive. But if you knew, hey, I'm going to clear out most of that tenon later, I'm just going to pocket the corners, a little bit of the edges, and then I'll move on to the file. It's kind of up to you when you're driving it manually. Now, if you're at bench pilot mode, it's gonna try to clear it out in a more uniform fashion, and you'll need to, pay attention, especially if you care about the speed at which it cuts or how fast or optimized it is. But when you're doing it by hand, you can kind of, pick and be the optimization. Okay, he's ripping through that tenon, and hopefully, if I didn't mess anything up in studio, we get a perfect match for the other files. All right. What do you think, Jake? Which one do you prefer?
Don't touch it. It's hot. I preferred that.
You prefer that mode?
Because, well, for two reasons. One, I like that it's just one operation. I could plunge and take care of all the extra business. Two, when you have a big pocket like this and you're engaging different sides of the bit, you still have to be conscious of whether or not you're climb cutting or not.
Totally.
It's not going to run away from you that far, but you'll feel the tool get kind of lighter.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the nice things about pocketing by hand is you can pick how engaged you are. So you can pick whether 100% of the bit is cutting through wood or 10%. And if you get that right, you can kind of, even if you're too deep or whatnot, you can just back off a little bit and not take so much as you're cutting through those passes.
Totally. You could go full depth, but only take off little nibbles at a time.
And sometimes I'll even make that pocket really big so I can just do a single plunge cut to the bottom and then, pick how engaged I am.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that was great. The other operation is not bad at all, and I like that it's just on tool.
Yeah.
If I'm out in the field or I'm in the workshop,
the only thing I was
Wi-Fi.
thinking, do you think the online cut is the right direction for that first cut?
It felt right, but I see.
I would think an outside cut with a little bit bigger or something maybe.
Yeah,
you have to change the offset a little bit.
I could have used the offset to basically take the tenon shape and give it like a 1/4 inch offset,
just so a little bit's getting cut.
Right. Totally an option.
Yep. Cool. Well, I think that's the tenon part of the show.
Yes.
Do we have anything else to go over there? No, we do not. All right, it's time for a break. Let's go and talk about a couple things. So we're gonna come over to my screen here, and if you haven't been paying attention, the Joinery Challenge is still going until tomorrow.
Ho-ho.
So you have time. If you don't know about the Joinery Challenge, it's a challenge where if you win, you get some pretty sweet prizes to the Shaper Shop. Jake, what do we got?
First place winner gets $1,000 to the Shaper Store. Second place gets $500. Third place gets $200. So you got 3 chances for some pretty awesome prizes.
So maybe get in the shop tonight. So if you're not familiar, it's a challenge. If you click View All up at the top here, you're going to see a bunch of the most recent submissions. Essentially, it's show us some cool joint that gets you excited. These are some pretty sweet little L tenons for a mitered glue up. We got Rubo dovetails. We got...
What's this one? This click joint.
Oh, yeah. Where is that one? Oh, right here. Oh, nice. A click joint. So it's probably springiness of the wood. When you clip it in, it locks it.
What?
And then when you push it in, it releases.
Who's out here coming up with this stuff?
It's crazy. Oh, yeah. Wait a minute. Did you see how good that grain match was there?
There's a video,
Look at that.
too.
Look at that grain match with the click. Okay.
Apparently, you guys can't see what we see on the computer, but now we're good.
Technical live show difficulties. Okay. Anyways, so yeah, we have a day left. Get some time in. If you haven't, go vote too. The way the winners are going to get picked is if you go here and click most popular, whoever's got the highest 3 votes is going to win. So we got a couple winners going on right now, but you know, this is the beauty of democratic voting. You know, it could change any moment.
Someone could come out of left field and take all the votes.
I mean, this one is brand new. I hadn't even seen this one. The current winning one is a crazy inlay that goes all the way down the side of this board with a huge homemade workstation. Look at that.
That is so cool.
So anyways, there's some cool stuff out there. In order to be a part of this, you just need to publish a Shaper Hub project publicly. And then in the top, if you come up here and follow me, up here, you must have this Joinery challenge in the box that's in the top corner of the project.
Joinery. Yeah,
Yep.
hashtag Joinery-challenge.
Nice. Okay, so that's first one. And then, yeah, you got a day left. Okay.
You can do it.
We're on to our shop tour. Jake, who do we got this week?
I only have the name of his email, which is B. Gibby. I don't actually know your name, but B. Gibby.
Don't tell him the rest of the email.
Yeah. That's fair. Thank you so much for sending this in. Let's go ahead and take a look.
Well, welcome to my messy shop. This is my storage area for fasteners usually. Sandpaper, carving bench, more storage, few project blanks, workbench, saw stop, sander, a little bit of storage for lumber, miter saw, my heat source, coming over to my shaper station. I'm just getting set up. Drill press, horizontal sander, bend saw, sharpening station, lathe, couple of router tables, planer, and over here my Tormek, lathe tools, another lathe, CNC, jointer, spindle sander, dust collection overhead. I have Oneida dust collection. Back over here where we ended. This is my slash office. Couple of safes, airbrush, coffee pot. So that's my messy shop.
Nice. I wonder where that shop might be in America. I'm going to guess somewhere in the Northeast.
Yeah, it's snowing. I saw snow outside.
It seems like a nice, cozy shop.
I love it.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
I'll tell you what, I cannot wait until the day where I have like a dedicated corner for turning. Big old one-way lathe.
You don't like our lathe on wheels where you just have to put in the corner
it just feels
and then
like an
bring it out
afterthought,
and
you
then
know?
put it back in the corner?
I want a wall dedicated to lathe tools.
You want a
turning tools.
13-foot-long lathe?
I wish I had something that I could turn these.
Oh, yeah,
At
that'd be
least.
nice. That'd be nice. All right, before we continue on, I do have a slight correction to make about the Joinery Challenge.
Oh.
The winning one that I said was currently winning is not currently winning because it's got to be a new project. And that was an old project updated. So don't update your old projects with Joinery Challenge. It's got to be, something new.
Yeah.
Post it there and we'll be looking.
One thing to mention, though, it doesn't have to be a project. It's all about the joint. It can be a
True.
part of your project, but we really care about that joint, that connection.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be a full project. It just needs to be an idea.
And what's going to be really fun is after this is all said and done, we have so many different joints to choose from as a community we can go in for our next project.
We should just pick a session where we just, pick a couple of the cool ones and try to do them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyways, slight correction. And now back to the show.
All right,
Jake,
thanks,
what do we
BGB.
got?
Appreciate you sending that in. Keep an eye out for a little thank you gift. I'm setting up for my legs here for my mortises, and Erik does this using a combination of the shelf, if you can hop to that side cam for me, shelf and a clamp kind of to hold things in place. I'm going to do something that is a little extra, but I like it. So we're level with the top surface. I just took a wedge and I screwed it into my workstation shelf. And I have the matching wedge. And
A really fancy hammer.
This is a really nice little mallet. And that's going to hold perfectly for me.
Yeah, it's a nice way to hold this, especially if you're doing repeated over and over. I've also seen jigs where you take the squeeze clamps and put them vertical, but it still references where that piece should go.
Yeah, I could go, if I was worried about this moving on me, I could do a little extra something down through the top.
Yeah, or come up into the bottom if you weren't using the shelf. But this is a nice way because now the height is always the same every time you cut. It's not, you don't have to hold it up and clamp it.
Yeah.
Just a little slide in and boom.
All right, so let's start us off with a fresh scan.
And now, Jake, walk me through how you're going to get that file from the other one over into this.
Let's make a grid first. New grid. I'm going to do a front side grid for this one. Boom. Boom. And against this edge with our reference pins. Boom. I think I'm going to do the same thing.
Okay.
I'm going to import that file that we made for the tenon, use the same exact thing, just for my mortise.
Love
So
it.
we'll go import over to workspaces, and I can grab that same file that we made. Is that correct? Yeah. I am going to flip it 2 ways.
Yeah, so just to review that one, because you might have missed it, because we built this file the other direction, we need to flip both axes to get the front corner in the right way. And you can just click those until your heart's content, and it shows up in the right spot.
Yeah. We're just dropping it at 0, 0.
Oh, are we? Because don't we need a little 1/8 offset?
That is true. Wow.
There's a small reveal on the front of these tenons. While you're setting this up, maybe I'll see if I can get it on camera for people. And this is a really nice little detail I think Erik put into this project. So if we come to the side camera here. So when you're joining these up, you can see this little tiny 1/8 line here. It's just that file's offset, just so that it's off there. Now that's great for when you start sanding, when wood moves a little bit. You get this little shadow line, even though the wood's going to move. If you were butted right up to the corner, if wood moves, if you sand improperly, you're going to see some pretty weird looks. So it's a small detail, but it's a really nice little detail when you're building furniture, just to give those reveals and give the wood somewhere to go.
Yeah. I'm just going to go ahead and use position for that. So instead of 0, 0, I'm going to move that Y direction in the positive direction, 1/8 of an inch.
Yeah, this is one of the things I also love about mortise and tenons is that the files are reversible by nature.
Yeah.
Dovetails, you have to have different files for each one. Mortise and tenons, even though this is wrong, right? If we go to this file, we're going to see there's a pocket there. We're not cutting a pocket. So we're going to turn that into a guide. And that just means Origin's going to stop cutting it temporarily. If we need to get it back, we can bring it back. And this is kind of one of the beauties of Origin's flexibility. We're kind of abusing a design file for our needs.
Right.
Yep.
swap that outside to an inside, and now we have a mortise. Bing, bang, boom. One more thing, I am going to bump up my depth slightly to 1.02. Give a little room on the back side of my mortise so that I don't accidentally bottom out my tenon.
Yep.
Just a little. Okay. Remember what we said earlier? Now we're going into cross grain. I want to be a little more conscious.
Oh, you're going to feel it.
So I'm going to go ahead and do a 1/4 inch at a time.
Especially in a little hard maple.
Yeah.
Yeah, in this one, when Jake's driving it, he is going to be holding it down a bit more. Don't just barely hold it. Give it a good little pressure, because that hard maple, especially when you go into those corners, is going to want to kind of move origin around a little bit. So,
right.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I'm taking my auto speed, because I'm definitely going to auto in these corners, and I'm bumping it back down to the default.
Boom.
Ready to go.
All right, so you're going to cut 2 here, then we're going to cut the other side.
I'm going to cut 1 here.
Oh,
I guess grab the other leg,
Yep.
put it in the same position. Do the same thing twice. Then we'll go to the other side.
Okay.
Here we go.
Let's roll. All right, so while we are waiting for Jake to cut these out, is there, since it's a live show and we can see some comments, I hope you're getting your comments in, because we're getting close to the end and we're going to go over those in Q&A. But would love to hear, let's talk about studio. The last show, I saw some of the comments after the show. Hey, I'm a little lost in studio. I can't really tell you what you're doing. I hope today I try to slow it down a little bit, explain what we're doing a little bit more, and take it a little bit of a speed. And then, is there anything you'd like to learn in studio that you just can't figure out? We'd love to help try to answer those questions for you in Q&A. We could do some live demos depending on how many questions we have. Yeah, let us know. Always interested to hear feedback from people who take the time out of their day to come watch us live, be with us, ask us questions, and learn a thing or two. All right, so there's one.
Remember, folks, now is your chance to test fit. And I do this to prove a point.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about test fitting.
I still do this to this day, even though I know it's not going to fit. I cut everything to a 0-inch offset.
Yep.
My tenon and my mortise. I test fit just to make sure that these things are not going to come together. There's no room for tolerance. They are the same exact size.
Yeah, and some of that is, there's a, typically if you cut the same thing with the same bit, it really doesn't matter. But let's say we were cutting with, an 8mm bit and a 6mm bit. Those bits might not be exactly the diameter that they say they are. And when you go to do this fitment, maybe one's a little bit bigger, one's a little smaller. Even cutting to 0 is going to be too loose. So I thought maybe one quick trick that I'd show people before we cut this is just how I like to do this, just to check if they were actually the right size. It's a little pro tip. Can we see this? Okay, so take your calipers, get them in the right mode, not fractions. And I'm just going to basically put them around the edge of the bit. I'm going to try to keep it perfectly 90 degrees to it. And then I'm going to rotate the bit backwards and just have those flutes open this up. So this bit is actually 246, not 250. And so when you enter the depth or the diameter of the bit, if you really want to be precise about it, you could type 0.246.
Yeah.
Then you're going to get a perfect fit. But if you're doing the same bit for everything, it doesn't matter so much. But if you're using multiple bits, sometimes that'll get you.
That's true. So I do know some people that...
Oh, okay. Oh, that was a bad mix. Okay, we have a correction to make also about the mid-show break. We forgot to put the poll up. So if you want to win stuff at the end of the show, it's going up now. Go ahead and answer that. And what is the question today, Jake?
The question today is, Ian. I can't remember off the top of my head.
I don't remember the question either.
But it's on the screen. I'm in the zone here.
It should be on the screen for you. Jake's in the zone, you know.
All right. Well, okay. We'll work on the poll question in a moment.
Okay.
More concerned with this.
Okay.
I'm going to give myself 0.004 of an inch of wiggle room. That's opening this shape up a negative 0.004.
Okay. And if you really think about this, if you type 0.004, you're opening up 0.008 because it's opening up 0.004 on both sides. So if you were to measure kind of the width of the tenon and try to adjust for that, you know, you're opening up both sides of that tenon. So just, you know, you're basically doubling that offset. Okay, question for today is quite compelling. What is your favorite joint to make with Origin? I mean, we've done a bunch in the shows. There's so many to choose from, but we'd love to hear what it is. So, question should be up. Enter that poll, and then we'll talk in the Q&A about some winning answers.
So that's going to come together,
Okay, yeah, let's see what we got.
but it's going to be snug.
Jake likes snug joints, really
I do,
snug.
But I'm learning my lesson.
Jake doesn't do dry fits, is what I'm coming.
I'm learning my lesson
around to.
After
I'm
all
normally
these
like a
years.
5 thou is my like general.
I'm going to go ahead and add an extra thou.
You are okay.
Just to make you happy.
All right, good. You know, it's like you really want, you know, especially when you're working on something that's you've already spent a bunch of hours milling your material. You've already not screwed up anything along the way. You don't want to get to that gluing point where you slap some glue on it, it swells up, and you can no longer get it in that hole. It is not a fun day. All right, let's see what we got now. Now, how do you explain to people what fit you're even looking for?
It's like I want to be able to push it in.
No
You know,
hammer.
If I have to get the hammer, as I have so many, as I probably will for this.
It looks pretty good, though.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I really like a joint where my ideal joint is it goes in and you can pick up the piece and it doesn't fall out. But this is a pretty hard, you know, little line. Okay, so we're gonna swap it out here, and this is where that little jig that Jake has with the little side clamping action is super nice because all he's gonna do is hold this piece here, get his very trusty hammer out. Boom. Okay, so one more. Gonna cut this one. This one, did you figure out which side? You're only cutting one side so far, right?
Yeah.
So we can't screw up yet.
Correct.
Unless we had already decided, you know, which side of the legs were going to be on which side. I would probably mark it so that you knew which the outsides were.
I have rough ovals in there.
You do?
So that I know
nice.
which is where.
Okay. All right. Next up, are you going to go straight to the offset now, or are you going to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now that we know what's going to fit well, 5 thou it is.
Okay. Yeah, and with these different offsets, you know, you are gonna have to change that depending on the wood you're cutting, the bit you're cutting. You know, I've even had some days where, you know, you're cutting joints multiple days and you do need to adjust it in between there. So, yeah, let's see where Jake's at. He's ripping. You know, once you get AutoPass and you're just ripping, it feels so good. You know, you're in a little meditative mood. If you haven't tried AutoPass, we have a free 14-day trial directly on Tool. Everybody gets one chance to try it out. Pick a time where you're going to cut some joints or cut a big project or have a bunch of cuts and see if it makes sense for you. I mean, you can do it without AutoPass. It just means you got to type in some numbers a little bit more and, you know, change the offset when you're ready. But if you're looking for that speed and efficiency, give the AutoPass trial a little go. All right. How'd that one go?
Wonderful. Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
So now we got to do the other side of the mortise. You think you're going to be able to get that table together at the end with that little hammer?
I got a bigger hammer.
All right, so
I'm going to set up now, if you could show that overhead. Currently, I have this pin over here out. I'm going to go ahead and retract.
and that's how you're referencing the same location over
Exactly.
and over.
I'm going to go ahead and make that go flush
I love these little pins.
and retract this one.
They just come in and out when you need them real quick.
Yeah. One-handed.
Super secure. They don't wiggle.
And triple check that I'm going to put.
Okay, so you see how so if you are looking at it, obviously we need that joint to come in on both corners and remember which side. I do like that, Jake. You know, a lot of people forget that, you know, in traditional woodworking, you would probably mark that out to make sure when you're spending a while chiseling it out, you don't have the wrong corner. With Origin, sometimes it's easy to forget that. So just draw a little terrible oval on the side that you need to be referenced on so that you don't mess that up. Okay.
It's really faint, but it's there.
Not for long. Okay, so same thing. We're going to create another grid.
And I'm gonna do an add to scan just so I can see it.
Okay.
Because it makes me feel better.
If you feel better, I feel better.
Yeah. And I'm just doing that little corner. I don't need to rescan the entire thing. There we go. Grid. That's the wrong button. New grid. Now. All right. 1, 2, and 3. Let's just go over here and copy this one. Copy. And scale to flip. Again, we're not placing at 0, 0.
Nope, we are not.
We are positioning at y equals 0.125.
Boom.
And we're ready to go.
Okay, 2 more cuts.
Go ahead and tighten my
You
spindle.
made you work today a little bit.
I'm here for it. I am here for it.
You've missed driving Origin manually ever since Bench Pilot come out.
We've been doing a lot of bench piloting. Not that I'm complaining. Love me some bench pilot. But
It is you get back to the original magic of Origin, you know.
yeah.
Just put a nice podcast on and start ripping some wood for 30 minutes.
Quick Z-touch to reestablish everything. And here we go.
Okay. Okay, so we're getting towards the end of the show. We got this cut to make, and then one more, and then we'll be on to our Q&A section. How many people who are watching sessions live right now have already participated in the Joinery Challenge and have a project up? Love to see it. Now's a good chance to, promote your own project and get some stars out of people. You know, we got a good little audience here. I'm sure they'd love to help out a fellow live watcher. Okay. All right, there's one. A little quick switch. It's like a pit car race, you know. It's like how fast can you swap it and not put it on the wrong face, Jake?
Yeah, that's the real trick. You know what? I intentionally put it in wrong so I can go, nope.
I will say that having some little repetition like that is a good way not to make a silly mistake. I do that when I'm putting the spindle back in origin. I always tighten it before I plug it in. So if I ever come to my tool at home and it's not plugged in, I know it's probably not tightened either.
That's a smart little mental check.
Well, I think it's an easy one to get wrong and not tighten it down. You plunge into wood and your bit's going everywhere. All right, last one.
Let's bring it home.
All right, so after this, we'll Ted maybe can post the links to Erik's files again. If you're excited about this project, you want to try it out, click that Shaper Hub link. All the details from the show are there, and it's fun to hear Erik talk about why he made some decisions that he made. We're not even going to go over the tapering of the legs in this project, but imagine all the cool things you could do of cutting some interesting legs, cutting some details or inlays into the aprons. There's a lot you could do at the top. I mean, this project's even talking to Erik when we designed it years ago, it was about a place to start. Like I said earlier, you don't need to build your first project that's going to end up in the MoMA. This is a great project to start, get your exercises going, and then you'll quickly move on from there. All right. So, with any luck, Jake, this table's going together. Let me move some stuff out of the way.
One way or another. Worth noting too. So I'm working with just square stock. In his video and in his instructions, he talks about doing a double taper and uses a leg tapering jig for the table saw. I gotta build myself a leg tapering jig because I'm definitely gonna do that.
It's pretty sweet.
But it is an after, like you want to get all your joinery cut first and then do that.
You're not a joiner tapering guy?
It sounds really hard.
Really? It's pretty easy.
If it's you mean on the joiner?
Yeah, on the joiner.
Oh. No, I've never done it, but we should do it with these.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Apparently you can put a leg taper using just the joiner.
Couple passes and you're done, and you don't have to deal with all the drama of the table saw.
What drama?
Yeah. Well,
Table saw's got drama?
I can tell you our blade's a little dull right now.
That's true. Well, somebody set off the brake. Not with their hands or any finger.
All right. Let's put it together. You need a moment?
Yeah, I do.
I really like that offset tenon detail because I've definitely done the evenly spaced tenons and then put it in the end of a piece and then afterwards just been like, why did I do that? Ooh, that was perfect.
Butter. So you make 2 H's. This is actually... Nice.
Okay, I'll hold.
Thank you.
Pretty good so far.
X's go in.
I love this project because it's such a simple component build. You could make it thinner in one direction by just shortening the tenons. You could make the tenons shorter or smaller and change the look of the table very quickly.
Yeah, it's a foundation, and that's
super foundation.
That's why I wanted to do it today. We saw some comments for what people wanted to see, and they wanted more furniture builds.
Yep.
This is the foundation for a good furniture build.
Okay, well, now what?
I don't know.
I like
Now
that. I like that mode.
X on the inside. So make 2 H's. I don't know why I'm saying H's. They're more A's.
Not quite in. There you go. Oh, that's nice.
It's almost like we planned it.
It's almost like we do this for a job.
This is that 5 thou is.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That was more taps.
More taps.
Go ahead and put that
Oh, you want to
face
do this?
up.
Okay.
Yeah. Little in. Hey-oh.
Where's the sledgehammer, Jake?
This one's gonna get a little loud.
Just coming in the angle a little bit. Tilt this up. There we go. Boom.
One more.
Yeah. When you can do the final honors.
There it is. Oh, that's fun.
Oh, yeah.
Ta-da.
There it is. In the video, he uses figure 8 fasteners to attach the top to this part because, you know, things are going to move around. You can use a Forstner bit and drill that out. Or if you're really feeling fancy, I would suggest plate and the mortising mount on these tenons, and you can cut little perfect.
Like triangles? How?
Well, I actually did it. I used trace. I did this a while ago. I used trace to draw around my figure 8 fasteners, but then I just added a nice curve out, so when the wood moves and that fastener is moving left and right, it would just not contact the wood. Yep.
Yeah, overhead. Something like I'm thinking that, if that's clear and visible.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did.
So your figure 8 fastener has movement.
Yep.
Left and right.
A little detail, but that no one will ever see, but you'll know.
It's the kind of things that we live for.
That's what I live for. All right.
All right.
Well, everyone, we hope that was a nice little simple build for you. If you'd like to see more of these, let us know in the comments. There's plenty of fun little projects we can go over. And if you want to see something else, let us know. And we hope you have a nice weekend. We'll see you in 2 weeks.